I have a theory, 940. Browns Training Canada update brought to you by Parado Ross Real Estate and Aligned Health. Let's go to the North Homestead Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram hotline. We welcome in Mary Kay Cabot, who joins us every Thursday at 8:20. Follow her on Twitter at Mary Kay Cabot. Hello, Mary Kay.
I didn't have time to study the Capitals, so let's just right off the bat, we got to stay away from the Capitals again.
You brought it up.
She's annoyed. She's annoyed because
I have a theory.
Her family brought that up at the dinner table.
I have a theory. She brought it up, and then she thinks I'm going to say it again, and then she's going to know some of those Capitals. North Dakota, Mary Kay, go.
Bismarck.
She did look it up.
Oh, this
Wait
is
a minute.
ridiculous.
Is that South Dakota?
Yeah, that's South Dakota. I'm kidding. Yeah.
Wait a minute.
No Capitals this week.
Oh, damn it. Now, hold on. Ask her a question. It is Bismarck. She's right.
It's Bismarck.
I said North Dakota, right?
Yeah.
What's South
Good.
Dakota, Pierre?
I was right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Is it Pierre?
Sioux Falls.
study.
I don't know.
Damn it. Now I forgot. I thought I knew all this stuff. Ask her a question, Tone, please, so I can look up the state capitals. It is Pierre. All right. I'll ask the first question. How's Greedy Williams feeling?
You know what? He's doing fine. What happened was he just looked a little off, and I think it's great that they have the kind of coaching staff and medical staff that can catch something like that immediately, and they did, and they attributed it to having a little bit of an issue with the heat, and you know they got to it right away, and then he felt fine after that. So good for him, because when he first walked off, you know, the thought that went through my head, and I'm sure everyone's head, was that something was wrong with that nerve damage in his shoulder. So good for him, because this is a huge camp for him, and you just don't really want him to be missing any time.
Yeah, Mary Kay, I saw this yesterday, and I knew there would be the overreactions. And maybe, you know, if he was truly hurt, maybe it wouldn't be an overreaction. It would just be, you know, this is kind of his background. We don't really know what the expectation is. And that's why I wonder, guys like him and Delpit, I know that fans always have expectations of every player and hope that every guy pans out. How much is the organization, how much are they sitting there going, oh, my God, we need these guys this year? Or have they kind of planned around them knowing that, well, these guys do have this history, and if they do play well, it's really just a bonus?
Yeah, you know what? Best case scenario, Grant and Greedy come back and play the whole season and are healthy. But, you know, there's a reason why they went out and signed John Johnson, and there's a reason why they went out and drafted Greg Newsome. You really had to have plans for those two very key positions. So if those guys can make it back healthy and stay the whole season, then it's great for everyone. If they can't, these guys have contingency plans, and really good ones.
Mary Kay Cabot, join us on the hotline. I'm sitting here knocking on wood every day about you-know-what with all these players. And I know that's not the way to enjoy training camp. Fans are excited about training camp. They want to go out and see these guys. They want to be a part of football. Again, where last year you didn't have this opportunity. What are the things that I can do as a fan instead of just sitting there biting my fingernails about potential injuries, especially considering how all these coaches are treating training camp these days, including preseason games like McVay, where, hey, we don't really want these guys doing a whole bunch. We don't even want these guys playing those games because of injuries.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a very conservative approach on the part of Kevin Stefanski and his staff, and I think that you probably will see some guys that don't play in preseason games, including like an Odell Beckham Jr., who is already on record as saying that he doesn't want to play in any more preseason games after hurting his ankle in that Cleveland preseason game that one year, which, you know, just sort of set off a chain reaction of injuries after that. So I think they're going to be very, very, very conservative. But what fans can do, I think, is take heart in the fact that there's a lot of depth on this football team. And there are a couple of positions that you really can't afford to lose, but they've got really good backups at almost all positions now. I mean, look what happened last year when Nick Chubb went down. How many teams have a Kareem Hunt that can step in there and get that done? At receiver, I mean, they've got plenty of really good receivers on this football team that even if Odell goes down again, which I'm sure he won't, but I mean, even if you lose Odell or Jarvis for a period of time, you've got other really good guys that can step in there. You've got a surplus of tight ends. On defense now, they've got a number of defensive ends. You've got Tack McKinley ready to step in there behind Jadeveon Clowney. I just don't think that there's any one injury that would necessarily be an absolute deal breaker this season. It's a really strong, solid team across the board.
Well, that was going to be kind of my next question there. What's that next step for Donovan Peoples-Jones? Had a really nice rookie season, 6th-round guy. What's he expected to do this year by the team?
Well, I would really like to see him get a lot more playing time this year. I think that he's got so much untapped potential, so much upside, and I thought he played with a lot of poise and a lot of savvy for a rookie, and he came up big in most of the big situations that he had. He only caught 2 touchdown passes, but they were both clutch touchdown passes, including the game winner in Cincinnati. I mean, you really had to have field awareness and just focus on that ball and be able to catch it in that clutch moment to win that football game. If they win one fewer game last year, they don't make the playoffs. So you can point to some of these big plays and say, if that play isn't made, they aren't in the postseason. They aren't in Kansas City for that divisional game. So he came up big. I really like what I see in him, and I attribute it a lot to the coaching of Chad O'Shea. I just think he's a tremendous receivers coach. I see these guys in practice. I see them get better. And I think the same thing's going to happen this year with Anthony Schwartz. Anthony needs to work on those hands, and he's already gotten better since the first few times we've seen him practice.
All right, Mary Kay, yesterday the celebrated and highly anticipated Mike Sando quarterback tier list came out, and Baker, even for me, well below where I thought he would come in. Kenny, was he 17th? And
he was 17th on those tiers.
And he was behind Joe Burrow. He was behind Big Ben. Why is it that people around the league, when they are polled for these types of things, always seem to slight Baker Mayfield?
I think he's still paying the price for 2019. I really do. I mean, that season was stuck in everyone's mind, especially in the mind of a lot of national people who picked the Browns to go really far based on what Baker Mayfield did at the end of his rookie season. And expectations were so high, and he did not look good. I mean, he was one of the worst quarterbacks statistically in the NFL in 2019, and I think a lot of people have a hard time shaking that, and they sort of forget what happened in the second half of last season when he finally had some excellent coaching and a really good scheme and a system. And I think he is coming in low. But those people are doing Baker Mayfield an enormous favor by dissing him like that. He needs that. He thrives off that kind of thing. He needs to have his back against the wall a little bit and people doubting him. He's made a career out of doing that. So Browns fans, whenever they see something like that from, the Mike Sando list or Colin Cowherd or Mike Tannenbaum or any of those guys, they should thank those people for lighting that fire under Baker Mayfield.
But what is it, do you think, that Baker needs to do to start appearing on different kinds of lists, like big-time elite quarterback lists? What is it that he needs to do this year? Because obviously they won a ton of games last year, and he was a quarterback. He did not turn the ball over the second half of last year. What more does he need to do?
Just string it together for a whole season. He hasn't really been able to do that yet for one reason or another. Last year, of course, it was because the whole thing hadn't been pulled together until about mid-season when they threw a bunch of things out of the playbook and honed in on things that he did well and got him out on the bootlegs and the keepers and focused on more play action and figured out where to go with the ball, where he felt comfortable and different routes that he liked. So I think once he is doing that from the jump, and I think you'll see a lot more of them on national television and highlights. They're starting out against the Kansas City Chiefs. He's going to get a lot of run for that. So, I just think the more that he's in the national spotlight playing well, he'll get that perception turned around.
Mary Kay Cabot with us on the North Homestead Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram hotline. Week 1, who is it bigger for, the Browns or the Chiefs?
You know what? I'm not looking at that. I'm probably going to say the Chiefs. I'm not looking at that game as an absolute must-win game for the Cleveland Browns, because if they lose it, they can still do absolutely everything that they want to do this season. So, they're not going to win all 17 games. And if you have to lose one, maybe that's the one that you can say, all right, you know what, let's have a good showing. Let's go in there and really give these guys a great game and a hard time. But if you don't come out of there with a victory, it doesn't mean that anything is lost or that you're not this or that. It, in some ways, could fuel you for what could possibly be a rematch, maybe even in the AFC Championship game. So, their defense will still be trying to kind of come together perhaps in that game a little bit. I think they're going to give them a good game. I actually think they have a good chance of winning it, the Browns do. But if they don't, all is not lost. I actually think it's bigger for the Chiefs, who have something to prove, something to come back from after the way that they lost in the Super Bowl.
Mary Kay with us on the show. I think the reaction to week one is more important than week one itself. Because if they win, well, now you're destined for greatness. If you lose, it's more of the same. You've lost 15 openers in a row. Am I right or am I wrong?
You know what? I don't think anybody is going to go down the more of the same road with this football team based on the fact that they did make the playoffs, win a playoff game last year, give the Chiefs a good game. I don't think that losing this game is going to result in that kind of a vibe. Of course, if they get blown out in that game, then that's a different story. But I don't see that happening at all. I think it would be really hard for this team to get blown out in that game. I think that they're going to keep pace and, either stay right in it or possibly win it. I think they'll have an opportunity to be explosive this season right off the bat. I think they can get into a shootout with anyone, and their defense should be better. The thing that they're going to have to do better this year is take that ball away, and I think they'll be able to do that. The emphasis will be on that all preseason and all in the preseason games, and I think that you'll see an aggressive approach in that regard.
All right, yesterday, Mary Kay, Myles Garrett asked if he should be the favorite for Defensive Player of the Year. I think if he can ever string together an entire season, he's always had these little things that have kept him out of games for one reason or another. I say little thing, and I guess hitting another quarterback on the head with his own helmet's maybe not a little thing, but
that's ticky-tack.
I guess, it's not an assault, my goodness. But either way,
attempted murder, Mike Florio. Lock him up.
Lock him up, yeah. Either way, what do we think about this season and Myles Garrett and how it could look different from any of the other seasons?
Well, he certainly has a better supporting cast than he's ever had before in terms of being able to make it to that finish line and still be in the conversation for NFL Defensive Player of the Year. To have that kind of talent now on the back end that they have, that's going to help him tremendously. And then to have Jadeveon and Tack on the other side and to have some really good things going on also at defensive tackle, it's just a much better defense. He's still going to get double teamed a ton, but they're going to have to pay some attention to Jadeveon Clowney too. I mean, last year, even though he didn't have a sack and has only had 3 in his last 19 games, he still was tied for 9th in pressures through the 10 games of last season, of which he played 8. And then he had a knee injury, but he was very disruptive. So I think he's going to draw some extra attention himself, take a little bit off Myles from time to time. I think Myles has a good chance of stringing together a full good season.
Mary Kay, give us a name on that defense where there could be some oohs and ahs from those in Berea that you may not be expecting when you walk through those doors.
Oh.
Well, the hard part about when you watch defensive football in training camp is those guys can't do anything that they are going to be able to do in a football game, or most things that they can do in a game. They can't make the contact. They can't make the tackles. So, we're not going to hear really, too much of the crunch of the pads, although they will put the pads on Tuesday. But, we're not going to see guys being taken to the ground and things like that. So defensive guys, they're not sacking the quarterback. So I think, just what you will be able to see is interceptions. Those always get, obviously, a lot of oohs and ahs. So you'll see interceptions and passes broken up. That's what you would be wanting to look at defensively in this camp. And I think you're going to see a number of those from all of the defensive backs.
Mary Kay Cabot joining us on the show right now. Hey, by the way, when Greedy Williams first reported that he was walking into the back to the facility with trainers, a lot of people were tweeting about Xavier Howard. Would they ever, if something bad happened, God forbid, would they ever contact the Dolphins about that?
Yeah, they would. I mean, they're not interested in doing that right now because they like what they have. They really like this roster heading into this season, and there are some guys popping free here and there that are asking for trades, like Xavier and Chandler Jones and Stephon Gilmore to a certain extent. So there are some guys available. But right now, I think they're pretty happy with what they have. As you mentioned, if they come down with a serious injury, then of course they would start to look at those sorts of things.
What is the capital of Wyoming?
Cheyenne.
She's looking it up now. I mean,
Nailed
she
it.
has a list in front
Nailed
of her.
it.
That's
to
why
the
we can't do
bleeping
we
wall.
can't do trivia anymore because.
Did I get that right?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, okay. And then she doubled down
I
with
didn't
that.
even look at the puzzle downstairs. Didn't even look at the puzzle. And you know what? I mean, aren't you surprised that I still have the puzzle after all these years?
3 of the presidents from the state of Ohio.
Go.
Easy.
Garfield,
Bingo.
Madison, Harding.
Madison.
I don't know.
It wasn't even a state, Mary Kay.
We do have a town called
She got-
Madison.
She got Harding, though. She got Harding. Come on, one
Okay.
more. One more. You don't got one more in you? Canton, Ohio. Big monument.
No, I don't have another.
Krause.
one. I'm sorry.
We got a dead president in Canton right now. As I speak these words, his tomb is still there. William McKinley. That's another one. Harris.
There you go.
All right. Well, the hell with me then. All right, Mary Kay.
I've been busy covering the Browns for 30 years. I don't know anything else except for about the Cleveland
We
Browns.
don't have time for presidents around these parts. Mary Kay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
The wonderful Mary Kay. Can I ask you something? Is that still on the North Homestead Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram hotline? Remember, Browns training camp updates brought to you by Lake Tech and UFC Gym in Middleburg Heights. Yes.